Hello, I'm Stacey Harris, and I work for Brandon Hall Group as their VP of Research. And we're going to be talking a little bit about relationship-centered learning. It's what I presented on here today about, and it's a really great opportunity that Brandon Hall has been doing some research on to understand the shift that is taking place in the learning market. And the learning market really is taking a huge shift. It's not just sort of an evolution, it's really a big jump into something that's very new from our research and really something that's going to provide a lot more value to learners. Relationship-centered learning is really all about the idea that organizations have moved from sort of learner-centered learning to something where they have to really think about the relationship to the learner with the content, to the learner with the peers that they have around them, and to the learner with the goals that they have available. And what that does is it provides the context for the learner and for the learning function to provide just the right type of information when it's needed and where it's needed. And most importantly, the learner has the ability to interact with that dialogue with the learning function. And that's really what relationship-centered learning is all about. It's about creating learning as a business tool versus just learning as a course or a content piece.
And what does that actually look like then? What does, for a learning and development team who are focusing on this kind of approach, what would that actually?
So for learning and development functions who are sort of on the edge of this is something that's just coming about. So you're seeing either very large organizations or sometimes very small organizations who are leveraging this type of learning and this approach to learning to meet really critical business needs where the current approach to learning isn't meeting their needs. And so what you're seeing is that's being driven by the consumers, and it's being driven by the changes in technology. It's also being driven by the changes in social and economic things going on in markets. So what it really means for the learning function is that they have to actually change sort of their overall makeup. The instructional designer, the learning content developer, the learning facilitator is no longer sort of the center of that world. Really what happens is that you need to have learning architects, you need to have subject matter expert coaches, and you need to have people who are sort of developing a learning ecosystem. And within that learning ecosystem, which includes your technology and your tools and your content and information, you're sort of providing a framework for people to make some decisions and make a framework for people to sort of gather information. And so the learning professional, particularly those instructional designers, content developers, and facilitators, become part of a much bigger process. And since this is a business tool, what it is that they then become a tool that the business community can leverage in the ways they need to leverage it. And so the learning community becomes much more embedded in the business then as well.
And does this mean a whole new set of skill sets for traditional L&D teams? It
really does in some cases. There will always be the need for some traditional instructional designers and facilitators and trainers, but really, because training, instructional design and training are not going to go away, particularly face-to-face training is not going to go away. Actually, relationship-centered learning organizations are twice as likely to actually leverage face-to-face training more than non-RCL organizations. But they also leverage e-learning, gamification, social media tools. They're leveraging a much broader view of blended learning across their organization. And then on top of it, what you're seeing is that the skill sets now that have to be had by the instructional designers and by the facilitators is that they might have to take their skills and educate maybe content owners, which might now be business owners, and they have to pick up skills around how to architect an ecosystem, which is very different from just implementing an LMS. They will have to pick up skills to develop an understanding of those relationships between the market and the environment and the user and their goals. So that's a little bit of performance consulting, but it also goes beyond that now so that you also understand what the person might need in any one point in time. So it's not just about a program or a course, it's about where they're at that point in time and their need, and being able to help them figure out the right tools at that point in time. So it is definitely different skill sets, but they're much more skill sets that have to do with architecture, analysis, understanding the development of sort of ecosystems, building technology into your approach, not making it the driver of your approach, and definitely designing learning hand in hand with the business units in a much more holistic fashion with the business as well. So those are some of the skill sets we're seeing sort of being developed across the board for organizations.
Great, Stacey. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.